For years, millions of Americans believed they were following the right path: wake up early, work hard every single day, push through the stress, sacrifice time with family, keep paying into the system. And one day, after decades of hard work, retirement would finally become the reward waiting at the finish line. That promise gave people hope. It gave workers strength during long shifts, painful mornings, and exhausting years. People believed Social Security would help them breathe easier when their bodies could no longer keep up. But now, something deeply unsettling is happening across the country. A quiet warning is beginning to spread, and it is making Americans nervous about their future. More experts are starting to say the same thing. Retirement may not look the way people once imagined. Behind the scenes, conversations are changing. Officials, economists, and financial voices are beginning to hint that Americans may need to work longer than expected. And for millions of people already feeling exhausted, that message feels heavy. It feels emotional. Because many workers are not dreaming about luxury. They are not asking for mansions or vacations. Most people simply want peace. They want enough money to pay bills, buy groceries, afford medication, and finally enjoy life after decades of sacrifice. But now, fear is replacing confidence. Americans are looking at rising prices, expensive health care, shrinking savings, and uncertainty surrounding Social Security, and they are asking themselves one painful question: what if retirement is slipping further away? What if the finish line keeps moving no matter how hard people work? That fear is growing fast because people can feel the pressure everywhere. Families are struggling, seniors are worried, workers in their 50s and 60s are beginning to realize they may not be able to stop working anytime soon. And perhaps the hardest part of all is that many Americans did everything they were told to do. They played by the rules, they worked hard their entire lives, and now they are wondering if the future they were promised is quietly changing right in front of them. Right now, all across America, workers and retirees are feeling something they have not felt in a very long time when it comes to Social Security and retirement: uncertainty. And for many people, that uncertainty is turning into fear. Because the closer Americans get to retirement age, the more they are beginning to hear troubling conversations about the future of the system they spent their entire lives paying into. People who once felt secure are now asking difficult questions they never thought they would have to ask. Will Social Security still be enough? Will retirement still be possible? Or are Americans being quietly pushed toward working longer and longer just to survive? This is becoming emotional for millions of families because retirement was supposed to represent freedom after years of sacrifice. People spent decades waking up before sunrise, working long hours, dealing with stress, injuries, and exhaustion, all while believing that one day they would finally get a chance to slow down and enjoy life. That dream kept many people going during hard times. It gave workers hope during difficult years. But now, many Americans feel like that dream is becoming harder to reach. Everywhere people look, costs continue rising. Food is more expensive. Housing feels unaffordable for many families. Medical bills are draining savings accounts. And at the same time, concerns about Social Security are becoming louder. Experts are warning about financial pressure on the system, and suddenly millions of Americans are beginning to wonder if they will have enough to make it through retirement comfortably. What makes the situation even more painful is that most Americans are not asking for anything extravagant. They simply want stability. They want dignity after a lifetime of hard work. They want to know that after giving so much of their lives to their jobs, their country will not leave them struggling in their later years. And now many people feel like they are standing at a crossroads, wondering if the future they counted on for decades is slowly starting to change before their eyes. Behind closed doors, a new message is quietly spreading across America, and for millions of hardworking people, it feels deeply unsettling. More voices are beginning to suggest that Americans should delay retirement longer than ever before, work a few more years, wait a little longer before collecting benefits, stay in the workforce as long as possible. And while these conversations may sound simple on paper, The emotional weight behind them is enormous for people who have already spent decades giving their energy, strength, and health to their jobs. Think about the millions of Americans waking up every morning with tired backs, sore knees, and exhausted minds. These are people who worked in factories, hospitals, schools, warehouses, offices, and construction sites for most of their lives. Many believed retirement would finally bring peace, a chance to slow down, a chance to spend time with grandchildren, travel a little, or simply live without constant stress. But now, many are starting to feel like that finish line keeps moving further away. What makes this even harder is that people are beginning to notice the signs everywhere. The economy feels uncertain. Prices continue climbing higher. Savings accounts are struggling to keep up with inflation. And now Americans are hearing more discussions about Social Security pressure, benefit concerns, and financial problems that could affect future retirees. It is causing many workers to feel trapped between two painful realities. On one side, their bodies are tired and ready for rest. On the other side, financial fear is telling them they may not be able to stop working yet. For many Americans, this is not just about money, it is about dignity. It is about the promise they believed in for their entire lives. People worked hard because they trusted that someday they would finally have security and stability, and now that confidence is beginning to shake. Still, millions of hardworking Americans continue waking up every day, continuing to fight for their future, continuing to push through the fear and uncertainty, hoping that somehow their years of sacrifice will still lead them toward the peace and security they worked so hard to earn. Across America right now, millions of people are feeling pressure from every direction. The cost of living keeps rising. Groceries that once felt affordable now leave families stressed at the checkout counter. Rent and mortgage payments continue climbing higher. Utility bills, gas prices, and healthcare costs are draining savings faster than ever before. And for older Americans getting closer to retirement, the fear is becoming very real. Many are starting to wonder if they can truly afford to stop working anymore. For years, people imagined retirement as the moment life would finally slow down. After decades of sacrifice, they hoped they could finally enjoy simple things without constant financial stress. Spending time with family, relaxing without worrying about the next paycheck, waking up without the pressure of another exhausting workday. But now, many Americans feel like that dream is slipping further away with every passing year. What makes the situation so emotional is that people did everything they were supposed to do. They worked hard. They paid taxes. They contributed to Social Security. They believed the system would protect them when they reached retirement age. But today, many workers are looking at their savings accounts and realizing the numbers may not be enough. Inflation is eating away at retirement plans. Medical expenses are becoming overwhelming, and uncertainty surrounding Social Security is making people even more anxious about the future. You can feel the frustration growing everywhere. Workers in their 50s and 60s are continuing to push themselves physically and mentally because they fear they cannot afford to slow down. Some are taking extra shifts, others are delaying retirement completely. Many are lying awake at night wondering how long they can keep this pace going before their bodies finally give out. And perhaps the hardest part is that most Americans are not asking for luxury. They are not asking to become rich. They simply want stability and peace after a lifetime of hard work. They want to know that all those years of sacrifice actually meant something. They want to believe the future can still hold comfort instead of fear, security instead of uncertainty, and hope instead of constant financial pressure that never seems to disappear. For millions of Americans, the idea of retirement is no longer bringing comfort. Instead, it is bringing anxiety, stress, and uncertainty about what the future may actually look like. Every day, more people are starting to realize that the financial pressure facing this country is becoming impossible to ignore. Prices continue rising faster than many paychecks. Savings are being stretched thinner, and now growing concerns about Social Security are making workers question whether they will truly be able to retire when the time finally comes. What makes this so emotional is that many Americans have already spent most of their lives working nonstop. They sacrifice their energy, their health, and precious time with family because they believe there would eventually come a moment when life would become easier. A moment when they could finally slow down and enjoy the peace they earned through decades of hard work. But now, many people feel like they are running toward a finish line that keeps moving further away. You can hear the fear in everyday conversations now. People are asking if Social Security will still provide enough support in the future. Others are wondering if they will have to work into their late 60s or even 70s just to survive financially. Some workers are already delaying retirement because they know their savings may not be enough to handle rising costs. And for older Americans who are physically exhausted, that reality feels heartbreaking. This is becoming more than just an economic issue. It is becoming deeply personal for families across the country. People who once felt hopeful about retirement are now feeling trapped between exhaustion and financial survival. Their bodies are tired, but their bills continue growing. Their minds are stressed, but they keep pushing forward because they feel they have no other option. And still, despite all the fear and uncertainty, Americans continue showing incredible strength. They continue waking up every morning, continuing to fight for their future, continuing to carry responsibilities on their shoulders, even when life feels overwhelming. Because deep down, people still believe that after years of sacrifice, hard work, and perseverance, they deserve a future filled with dignity, stability, and the chance to finally live without constant fear about what tomorrow may bring. For so many Americans, this situation feels heartbreaking because retirement was supposed to be the reward after a lifetime of sacrifice. People worked through pain, stress, exhaustion, and difficult years believing that one day they would finally have a chance to rest. They missed family dinners, worked overtime shifts, and pushed through physical and emotional struggles because they trusted that the future would eventually become more secure. Social Security was supposed to be part of that security. It was supposed to give people peace of mind when they could no longer work the way they once did. But now, millions of Americans are beginning to feel afraid that the promise they believed in for decades may be changing right in front of them. You can see it in the faces of older workers who are still waking up before sunrise every single day because they cannot afford to stop. You can hear it in the voices of retirees who are worried about rising costs and shrinking budgets. Many people are realizing that even after decades of hard work, financial peace still feels out of reach. And for those who spent their entire lives doing everything the right way, that realization feels deeply emotional. What makes this even more painful is that most people are not asking for anything extraordinary. They are not chasing luxury lifestyles or huge fortunes. They simply want enough stability to live with dignity. They want to pay their bills without fear. They want food on the table, medicine when they need it, and a roof over their heads. They want to enjoy time with family without constantly stressing about money. Instead, many Americans feel like they are carrying more pressure now than ever before. Inflation continues making everyday life harder. Healthcare costs keep rising, savings are disappearing faster than expected. And now, conversations about Social Security uncertainty are making millions wonder if retirement itself is slowly becoming impossible for ordinary people. Yet, even through all this fear and frustration, Americans continue showing resilience that is truly inspiring. They continue fighting through difficult days. They continue sacrificing for their families. They continue searching for hope even when the future feels uncertain, because deep down they still believe their hard work, dedication, and years of sacrifice should lead to something better than constant worry and fear. Right now, millions of Americans are starting to feel a growing sense of urgency about their future, and the reason is simple. The warnings surrounding Social Security and retirement are becoming harder to ignore. What once sounded like distant concerns are now turning into serious conversations happening all across the country. People are beginning to realize that the future they counted on may not be as secure as they once believed. And for hardworking